Welcome back to another episode of the Finance Bible podcast.
Welcome back.
Joined with myself, Zeke, and as always, we've got Oscar Don in the background here, ready to go.
Full name introduction. How good is that? And just before we get into it today, anything we say should not be used as personal financial advice.
Everything we do, two mates, having a chat, recording it, letting you guys serenade in it. If you want financial advice, please reach out to a professional in the industry. If you don't know
For ourselves, we can direct you in the way for a professional if need be.
Took the words out of my mouth. Let's get into it. One thing that I've really noticed in the past couple of months, and let me know if you're feeling the same, there's been hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars come off a fixed interest rate. We are seeing drastic increase in people not being able to afford their repayments on their home loans, or they can't afford it and they're just struggling. They're having to cut out expenses. They're having to sell their new vehicles and purchase old used vehicles and that kind of thing to try to make an ends meet.
You see a lot of articles as well recently about families who literally can't afford to buy their groceries anymore because their rates have jumped, maybe 1%, for example. Obviously, it's been jumping up a lot more. But in hindsight, that's a $200, $300 per week increase, depending on the amount of mortgage you have on yourself. But that's a big jump in the scheme of things for families when they have, even one kid, let alone 2, 3, or 4 in a family of yours.
Yeah.
How many kids you have? Like 6?
But whoa, I didn't have the kids.
No, your family though.
My family has 5 children, 4 big boys and 1 little girl.
Yeah, so families are really struggling to pay it. And you will find that due to this, a lot of families will be starting to sell their homes as well because they no longer can afford to hold up their the dream home, their investments, etc., which is really upsetting.
I have a client who has a $1.8 million loan on their home. They were on a fixed interest of about 2.1%, so that's not too bad, pretty easy. In the last 2 months, it's actually gone up to about 4.4% because they came off their fixed interest rate. The impact that is having is over $700 a month in repayments difference. That's almost $200 a week out of your pay, just gone. So what can you do about it? If you're in that position, you're a homeowner, or you've got any form of variable loan or something going on, how can you help yourself? The first one, which is the most obvious one. Actually, I shouldn't say the most obvious. Not a lot of people know you can do it.
Give them a call.
Give them a call.
Yeah.
You can literally just ring your bank.
Even if you're a bit too nervous to ring yourself, if you went through a broker, give your broker a call and let them know. They'll ring the bank for you on your behalf. So they'll give them a call and say, we've been with you for six or so months. Other competitors have this rate. We're getting charged this rate. What can you do? Or we're walking. Sometimes you do have to threaten them a little bit. don't know if we can say this.
It's not really a threat. It's
not a threat.
Hey, you're charging me 4.6%. Commonwealth are offering me 3%. Can
It's
you do
common
anything
sense.
about it? Yeah,
it's like Bunnings Warehouse. Or, if
last price at just the beginning.
Yeah, if you go in there and someone else has got a lower price, they'll match it or bid about 10%.
Lowest liquor price guaranteed.
Well, exactly right. It's the exact same thing. So go to your lender, let them know another competitor is offering this rate, only if it's actually legit, if they are actually offering that rate. Most of the time, they will reduce your rate. It might not be down to what you expected, but it'll be a lot less than what you're currently on if you're eligible for the time.
Yeah, 2 examples of that recently. I've encouraged a couple of family friends to go ahead and do so. One of them got a 0.8% reduction, and one of them actually got a full reduction of 1.5%, matching a new offer for Commonwealth at that point in time. I keep saying Commonwealth, they're the biggest bank. I'm not saying to go to them. They're just a big bank that everyone knows, hence what I'm saying.
Not endorsed by them.
Yeah, no, not at all. I wish.
Wouldn't mind some Combank merch. Get some hats. Oh.
So that's probably the first thing that I'd look at doing. Just giving them a call, not directly doing a refinance at that point in time. They're just dropping the rate for you, so there's no impact on credit rating unless you go ahead and get them to do a credit check, that kind of thing. Just know what we're recommending. What's another thing they can do?
So another form of helping pay down the mortgage and especially when the rates are going up is actually purchasing an investment property. You may already have one, you may not. You may be too scared and nervous to take on the risk of more debt, which is perfectly normal. Our brains are wired to think of debt as bad. Borrowing money and having $1 million worth owing is generally bad. But investment property debt is good debt if you're comparing the pair. Reason being is you're leveraging. Power of leverage is you can borrow more than what you have. And when you have an investment property, what that entails is if you go for a positively geared property, you can get the excess cash flow to throw onto your mortgage, your owner occupier mortgage, help pay that down quicker, especially if you're struggling with the increased cost of living, the interest rates, etc. They'll help you pay that down. Also, come tax time, you get a bit of tax benefits from investment properties. So if it's a new build, you can claim depreciation, which is 2.5% per year. You can claim the fittings, the interest. So you might get around, depending on your income, for example, you might get 10 grand back per tax time, straight onto your mortgage, pay that down quicker. So borrowing debt for another property is actually a good thing, and it will help you in ways that you never would have thought in the start.
Yeah, so basically leverage into a cash flow positive property and or one that gives good tax deductions and utilize an extra source of income or the tax refund to help make your payments. Now, that's not only exclusive with property. You can do that with anything. So if you've got shares that pay a good dividend, you can utilize the dividends to do it. If you've got a really high fixed interest investment somewhere, probably a private one to get a good fixed interest level, then that can help. There's a bunch of different things you can do.
With that being said, if you're listening to this now and you heard us say investment, don't go out and just buy a property you think's going to be a good investment. You have to run numbers and do a cash flow to figure out, okay, how much will go out in fees and expenses, how much is coming in based on the interest rate. If it makes sense, it's a good idea. But if you're losing money per week, I wouldn't recommend that. You just have to do the research, look for it. This is where buyers advocates come into it, and they can help you source these types of properties.
In today's interest environment, it is quite hard to find a good cash flow positive investment property, depending on your loan portion or your LVR percentage, the amount you leverage into the property versus the asset value.
Yeah, we were searching. Yesterday we were having a look just for a few of our clients, and sometimes it may take one day, it may take a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Yesterday it was extremely difficult to find positive properties in the area we were looking at, which would make sense cash flow wise. So they are around. We eventually did find them, but you just really got to keep looking and get the emotions aside, because a lot of people get confused with purchasing on emotion. So it might be wanting to purchase a property which is around the corner from their home where they're living because they want to be able to touch it. But it won't necessarily give them the return that they need for helping them pay down a mortgage or retirement. So if you can eliminate that and really just start researching, trying to find the right properties, that will be the difference between retiring at 50 to retiring at 80.
Yeah, the amount of time we spend looking for cash flow positive properties in today is quite extreme. There's a lot of time that goes into it. If you are someone who's looking to purchase an investment property, I would suggest reaching out to us to see if we can help and or run the numbers for you. Another thing you can do if you found yourself in the situation of having too much debt or having too high of an interest rate is a straight up refinance. In the last 18 months, the average property, and I'm saying average Australia-wide, it's going to vary, is up still at the moment between about 10 to 25% nationwide. If you then go ahead and try to do a refinance, if you were leveraged at 90% and your property's gone up 15% in value, guess what? Your debt level now is less than 80%. If doing a refinance, your bank should be able to offer you a better rate than what you're on. And that's an official refinance, so credit check, a full reapplication, moving to a different bank, that kind of thing.
Again, if you have a broker, ask them to look into it, because they will, they got the connections there, and it'll eliminate you from the stress of trying to organise it if you're not necessarily too financial savvy in the industry and know what's kind of going on. So that's where the brokers really come into it. Another one, which is a real simple option, is, we've spoken about it before, just a generic side hustle. So these days, the power of internet, you can really make a lot of money from sitting at home on your computer. A lot of people, we see this through YouTubers, influencers, crypto fans, everyone who's just crypto trading, they make a lot of money. But if you're struggling day to day, if you have a bike, if you have a car, get on Uber Eats. go down. You can probably make a couple hundred a week just doing a few hours a day. Go deliver some groceries, be a dog walker, be a virtual assistant, an appointment booker online. You can be there's so many different options out there that you can do in your alone time after hours if you really are wanting to make an extra 200, 300, 400 bucks a week. And with that being said, if a side hustle isn't your thing and you really need to help increase your income for these repayments, asking your boss for a pay rise is always a good idea. So yes, you may be a bit nervous. It might be a bit scary going up to your boss and saying, "Hey, I want more money." But the way you ask it, makes a lot different. So you might, let's say we want a pay rise over 3 months. First month, you might go up to them and let them know, "Hey, this is where I'm at. What do I need to do to get an increase in 3 months' time?" They're going to let you know, "Okay, well, you're good at this, but you can get better at doing this. And for 2 months, you're really going off. You're really, giving it a go and you're making a big effort. 3 months' time or a month by then, you have another chat, progress chat. Say, "Hey, Zeke, I've done all this that you've said. I think I really do deserve that pay increase. Might be, 10%, 20%, whatever it may be. But whatever bump you get, that will help you no matter what with the amount of interest you're paying right now." So there's all different ways to do it. You can read a lot of books. They've got different ways of how to negotiate a pay rise, but that's a good way to start if you're not necessarily wanting a side hustle per se.
One of my favorite things to do, and this is going to sound really, really strange. If you're sitting there and your payments have gone up $200 a month, that's $50 a week. How do you find a way to increase your income by $50 a week? Is it asking your boss for that extra $1.20 per hour to make up the $50 a week? Is it finding an alternative solution? If you sit there and go, "All right, I've got to increase my income by $50 a week. How can I generate an extra $50 per week?" And you just sit there and you think and you think and you think. It might take you 3 days to get a good idea, but eventually you will come up with a way to increase your income by that $50 per week. It might not be orthodox. It might be out of the box. It might be something completely random and a little bit iffy. It might be a bit risky, but there is definitely ways to do it. Could be as simple as doing Uber Eats.
Well, that's what I did when I came back from the trip in America, I think 2020, just before the pandemic started. I blew all my money over. Well, I had a bit left over, but the majority of it was gone. So I was obviously job hunting, but while I was doing that, I looked in the mirror, had to think to myself, how do I make some money, get back on track? Uber Eats it was. Easiest side hustle, I think, today, especially with the way of technology. It's so easy, and the amount of promotions I have on Uber Eats too. You might get 5 trips and you get an extra $30, and then that goes up every day as well. So you can make a lot of money if you do it. But yeah, there are lots of ways as mentioned earlier.
All in all, increase your income, get a side hustle, refinance, call your bank,
and just become a top G.
Just become a top G. Actually, speaking of top G, one thing that Andrew Tate said that is actually really positive, and whether you like him, you hate him, I'm not having that debate. He was talking about how everyone says you need money to make money, and that he made money because he had money. Because he threw 600 grand into crypto, or Bitcoin, I should say, and I think it turned into 70 million or something like that. But he went ahead to say, if you threw 600 into the same thing that he did and you took that risk and you learnt about it, and most people have $600, and if you don't, you can do it with less. But that 600 would turn into 70,000 at the same return. If you did it with $6, then it would only turn into something like 700, but it's still worth it. You're still making money. So you can start off with a little amount and multiply it into a huge amount down the track. I'll let you stay with that. You can think about Andrew Tate for the rest of your day. Have fun.
But yeah, if anyone has any thoughts, more questions, a bit confused with some of the aspects of a refinancing, for example, give us a DM, shoot us an email via our Instagram profile. We have all the options there. And yeah, we're happy to have a chat to anyone who needs the help or just wants a generic discussion, or even put them in the contact of someone who can help them, or even someone in the professional world who can actually help them and potentially do business with yourself. So yeah, up until then, we'll catch you later and enjoy the rest of your afternoon, your morning, your holiday, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. You might be in summer, you might be in winter. Just enjoy your day and get into it.
Enjoy 2023. It's a year for you.